All right, guys, welcome back in Inside the Pod with Lou here. We start every podcast with a Bible verse, and today's Bible verse led us to the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 3. Those who are wise will shine as bright as the sky, and those who lead many to righteousness will shine like the stars forever. Daniel 12:3. And with that being said, I'm with
Marissa, the Phi Culture.
All right, well, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate you coming by and traveling from Turlock.
Yes.
Right, so let's get back right into it, right? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am Marissa, also known as Fight Culture on the fight scene, a business I started just a few years ago. Started as a photographer, formerly trained Muay Thai a little bit, boxing a little bit, and unfortunately some health issues led me to having to retire from training and competing as a whole, and I found a new outlet, which led me to Fight Culture. Started as a photographer, moved on to interviewing fighters, commentating now, and also I do these little e-magazines thing too. I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram, but yeah, it's like a little magazine I do every week. I like to highlight fighters and all aspects of the game: Muay Thai, MMA, boxing, and I call it the regional recap. And I highlight what's been going on in the fight game in the area, in the Central Valley, mostly Central Valley, Northern California, which is where I'm from. And yeah, so that's what I do. That's who I am.
That's awesome. I mean, when we started this podcast, it initially started, I worked in law enforcement, so I wanted to kind of give a voice to the law enforcement community, right? And the Lord had other plans. And not only am I giving the voice to the law enforcement community, I started getting in the fight game, athletes, teaching, different types of jobs. I think we just landed our first comedian. So it's Central Valley talent, essentially, right? And so everything kind of that you're doing, at least with the fight game, we're trying to do in general with the Valley, right? And I think the Valley also includes the 209. So when everyone thinks of the 209, they always think of the Diaz brothers,
Yes.
At least when it comes to the fight game, right?
Always, yes. Good people have always represented the 209 well, so you always got to appreciate that. But yeah, they are rare, a rare breed, because the 209 doesn't have too many of those big stars, so they definitely were kind of one of the few, one of the first, especially in the fight game. But we got a couple of actors here now and then that pop up, but those are some big names in the 209.
Well, I mean, I think also like yourself, not really getting to, we met through social media, right? Started following each other. And then one day you posted something. I think I responded, and then we kind of just started talking, and I was like, hey, do you want to come on a podcast? You're like, sure. And now you're here, and kind of getting to really know you today. And even now on the podcast, I try to get the pre-interview in just to kind of, we don't just jump on and then throw it on and then we're there. Like at least kind of feel you out, you feel me out, and we'll jump on. But I'm kind of like, I didn't know you commentated like that. I didn't know you did that little e-magazine for the fighters. I think that's awesome. I think that's what the fight game in general is lacking. I think a lot of times when I'm talking to these fighters, the wrestlers in our community, the boxers, they're not highlighted enough, right? They're not enough exposure out there for them. And I was trying to tell Coach Moreno the other day, and a shout out to Coach Moreno, Fresno City Wrestling. We're so known in the Valley for wrestling, right? But yet there's no one really covering them. Same thing with our fighting. Like when I went to, and it's kind of weird that you said you were there at Element Boxing for the July 12th event. A lot of these fighters that are up and coming are from the Valley, and no one really knows about them because I just think that it's not pushed out enough, So there's a fight culture out there in the 209/559, and hopefully there's some Inside the Pod with Lou, and we can kind of get it out there for people. And before you know it, as we start growing together, I think you said that also you're commentating, and you're going to be doing a fight tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'll be commentating for Valley Fight Series. I've been commentating with them for 2 years now. Tomorrow they have a big event, boxing, MMA and Muay Thai in the ring this time. Typically they do it in the cage, but it's in the ring this time. Our main event is Jenna the Gem Creason from Visalia, a very well-known fighter out there. The Valley loves her. And so to have her main event in the Valley for the first time in her career, the entirety of her career. She's now 3-0-1 in boxing. So, to have her in the Valley for the first time, it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited to call that fight. I got to commentate with her last time. So I'm excited to see her get in there and do her thing.
I think anything you mentioned too, that you commentated with a person that we met with 559 Fights, MLH Media, right? Did you ever commentate with him? Or
we have yet to commentate together.
Shout out MLH Media.
Yeah, we have. There are so many shows in the Valley, and so he has his, and I've had mine that I've done, and we've tried so many times to get shows to be like, hey, you got to put us on together. We would be a power duo. I truly believe it. Yeah, it's yet to happen, but hopefully soon, because that's going to be a really good commentating gig.
Yeah, no, I like I said, maybe I'll manifest it, and then when these days when you guys do it, hopefully we're there to see it, and then we can maybe us. I think in the long run, as I remember I was telling you, like I feel like I'm an amateur, definitely like below amateur when it comes to learning about the fight game and on the upcoming. But when you're commentating, you got to know what to see and what to do, right? And what I got to do one of these days, I think after when you leave the podcast, I tell you that I don't really watch other podcasts, or I don't, but I want to see how you call a fight, so I can kind of gauge and see how it goes. I've been hearing Michael's as he drops the 559, like the clips.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of hear it. So it's cool to see. I mean, obviously watching the UFC and seeing Joe Rogan and John Anik and Daniel Cormier through the years. I think even when I was first coming up watching it, Michael Goldberg, I remember when he first was in the UFC, and you kind of see it and you're like, wow, it's a true art. It's a true skill. Right. And how did that kind of happen? How did you get into commentating? I mean, I know we'll jump through it as your career, but for now I want to know, like, how did you get into commentating?
So that was through a friend of mine, somebody I met in the boxing community. He got the opportunity to commentate for a promotion called 209 Beatdown. And I was going just to cover and do some interviews, and his partner didn't show up, and it was an unpaid gig. So he was kind of like, okay, I'll do it on my own. And I go, well, I'm here. He's like, yeah, why wouldn't I ask you? So I sat in with him. I did a decent job, I think. It's your first commentary gig is the scariest thing ever. Just first of all, hearing your voice is insane.
Yeah.
As somebody that doesn't listen to their own voice and listen to yourself talk, you'll hate it. You'll absolutely hate it because you can hear yourself in the mic, and then you see everything going, and then you see the comments, especially if they're streaming on YouTube. You got it open right here. You see the comments and you're like, oh, I messed up. I messed up on someone's last name, So first commentary gig is terrifying, just because as much as you prepare for it, nothing can prepare you for feeling everybody's stress and anxiety in an environment, and then there's violence taking place in front of you. Nothing prepares you for that environment. And so no matter how much you think you prepare, still to this day, no matter how much I think I prepare, I will never go in there with the same intention. Like it doesn't ever play out like you plan it to be.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something you have to learn by doing.
So it's a lot of adjusting.
Oh my gosh, a lot of adjusting on the fly, especially with late opponents, which happens a lot in the amateur game, happening a lot more in the professional game. I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm just saying. So, with fights falling through, people pulling out last minute, then on the fly, you have to learn somebody's whole entire background within hours, within a day. You have to go look at film, see how they fight, just so you get an understanding of what you're going to see in there. You don't want to be too shocked. So... yeah.
I think that's why I tell people, like, I don't watch certain podcasts or in general just certain things, but like you just mentioned it, like we do have to watch film and we do have to prepare, right? We do have to kind of see what we're getting ourselves into, because you could only do this for so long before you kind of just wing it. I think as you start, I was explaining to you, as I start getting more involved, I want to be prepared. Like I have 2 questions here and I like to flow it off, right? But when you're kind of coming on, and I'm going to ask you, kind of learning too, right? Like I told you too, even though I'm older to you in MLH media, you guys have been doing it and you guys are seasoned. And when you guys I see you guys on the camera and I see you doing your interviews, it's like you're polished. You're but it takes time, right?
Yeah, it does.
And so I'm going to ask you, like, how do you prepare yourself when you go into a big interview like a Fernando Vargas Jr.?
Oh, so funny you mentioned that. So one of my biggest interviews, I'm gonna bring you to a actual story of
go ahead.
One of my biggest interviews was with Oscar de la Hoya.
Oh, nice.
And so I was so nervous. Oh my gosh! And my dad was my cameraman at the time.
How long ago was this?
This was. This had to have been last year.
Okay.
I think this was last year when they brought Golden Boy to Fresno.
Okay.
And so I was talking to De La Hoya, and when it's a situation like that, you can't prepare for that. You can't do film for that because, you're just...
on the fly.
It's on the fly. So sometimes winging it truly is the best policy. But like when it came to Fernando Vargas, with him, that is something where you go back, you look at the fights, you want to ask him those technical questions, because in a fighter's mind, that's what they want to answer. They want to be able to hype themselves up, even though they're doing an interview and they know it's good to promote the fight. It's good for them. It's hyping them up. It's like, oh yeah, you saw I did that. Cool. I'm actually going to do that this fight. Like I told him, you're a forward pressure fighter. He's a press forward fighter. He has a beautiful right hand, a beautiful straight right. So I mentioned that to him, and he like made a look at me like, how'd you know that? But that's because in old school boxing media, that doesn't get brought up a lot. So it's definitely a benefit. So, pointers for you when you get in there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a benefit. If you bring up something that they're able to do in their film, and that's something you'll learn as you learn the technical side of fighting, they love it. So when it comes to preparing for interviews like that, you look at their past fights, you look at their Instagram. You learn so much from Instagram now, looking at people's stories.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you interview him live, like in person, or was it over like a?
That was over a video call.
Okay.
So a lot of the interviews I do are over video call, just because these things are funded by our pockets right now.
No,
so
for sure.
You can't really get out there and do it. The De La Hoya one was in person. That's why that one was kind of, I had to wing.
And
that
so
one.
like how did that happen? How did the De La Hoya one?
So
right place, right time, or
no, actually, I, through good friends of mine from 209, Gabriel Flores Jr., his dad, Gabriel Flores Sr., we hit it off. We're cool with each other. And so their first manager was Rick Meridian. And so
Promoter 559.
Yes.
Shout out Promoter 559.
Yeah, he's awesome. Love Rick. Rick has given me the best pointers I have ever heard. And that's because he is one of those cutthroat people in the fight game. And those are rare to find. And the first thing he ever told me was, be aggressive. I'm not fighting. I'm doing interviews. Mm-hmm. I'm a journalist. But he told me to be aggressive. And I go, okay. But I think, I didn't take it as offense. I usually some people would think like, oh, why are you saying I'm being weak right now? Like what?
Yeah.
Why is that the first thing you look at me and you tell me that? But I think when we spoke, putting everything together, I'm a female. I'm young. You look at me, I have a baby face. Like people are going to try and stomp and walk all over me. And so the only advice for me he had was be aggressive. And that's kind of how De La Hoya came about, was everybody was around and I looked at Rick and he gave me this look. Like it was like, get up there and go talk to him. And so I was, kind of standing back. It was one of my first big events with Golden Boy. In the past I had worked with Top Rank. So I didn't have this, shock of, whoa, this is a big promotion, but I hadn't worked with Golden Boy yet. So I kind of wanted to feel it out, not step on anybody's toes. And I seen him look at me and he goes, like, get up there. So I got up there. I wasn't supposed to be on the stage, but I got on the stage and I said, hey, my name is Marissa with Fight Culture. He said, Fight Culture? I love that name. That's what De La Hoya said. I have the clip. The clip's all blurry. It's all crooked. My dad was trying to record, but
you got to give me the clip so when we drop your podcast, we can throw it in.
I will do that. Yeah, cool. But that was the first thing he said. And so truly that interview came up because of Rick. And Rick he does everything for the Valley. Everything for the Valley. And so,
well, you have to when you're promoter 559.
When you're promoter 559. So to have a connection like Rick, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
It is a blessing. And it didn't come, it didn't fall on my lap. I did the work. I met the Flores family. I made connections with them. I went to shows, put the work in, and then Rick noticed me. I got to interview Rick a couple of years ago, and then from there, the relationship and friendship just blossomed. Yeah,
because I was going to tell you too, like, we kind of talked a little bit off camera, but on camera, to let everybody else know, like, how do you get into like what you're into now? Like, I asked you the same thing. I was like, well, how'd you get into boxing? You're like, or how'd you get into fighting? You're like, what kind of a funny story? But you told me, but let's let everyone out there know. I mean, we kind of already jumped in it and we're talking about Golden Boy and Rick and all these people, but how did you initially get into like where you're at today as Fight Culture? And then how did the name Fight Culture even come?
So, that's a funny story actually. So in 2020, COVID.
Okay.
There's all, the protests going on, and I really wanted to be a part of, regardless of what you think of it, I wanted to be a part of that history that's inevitably going to be part of history, the protests going on in 2020. So I was photographing. I was photographing every march, protest, everything that was going on. And my tagline for that was for the culture. For the culture, that's it. And so that was just kind of its own thing. I wanted that to be, a separate identity from what I was doing and, my personal Instagram and whatnot. So that was before Fight Culture even became a page.
Yeah, it was created.
Yeah. So it was for the culture. It was a bunch of protests, protest photos and, stuff in that realm. And then naturally with the devastation of everything shutting down, a friend of mine who is my coach, and I call him Maestro because he's taught me everything.
Yeah.
Everything mental about the game, the way I carry myself in the game, everything. He's taught me everything. And so he reached out to me and said, hey, the business is hurting. Like, teach me how to do this social media stuff, because that's truly how we're all going to stay afloat. So he reached out to me. We talked about it. And then I go, I'll help you if you promise me one thing. He's like, yeah. I'm like, take me wherever you go with these fighters. Take me in this, wherever you go in this game, take me with you. And I will do all of this for free. And I did. I helped him with his videos to keep the business afloat, whatnot. And he started taking me to Reno because he had a couple of amateur fighters. And in Reno, it was primarily the promotion King of the Cage, which has a huge history in the fight game. King of the Cage was Tom Loeffler, which is the UFC and Zuffa Boxing now. So the UFC, if you ever look at the UFC and if you ever watch Peyton Talbot walk out, it'll say former King of the Cage champion. And they're one of the only other promotions beside LFA that they'll mention in that little description as they're walking out. So that shows the history and the relationship that King of the Cage has with the UFC. So I was excited. I was like, yeah, I want to go with you. I was just going with them, sitting in the stands, shooting with my camera because I was a wedding photographer at the time. And finally, I saw one of the production guys. I go, hey, like, I have a camera. Can I get up there? But, I was just shooting my shot. I didn't expect anything of it. I was, but he goes, yeah. He's like, yeah, walk in there. So I walked into the barricade where usually nobody's allowed unless you're sanctioning body, doctor, whatnot. And he let me in there and I just started shooting the show. And from there, I shot the rest of, I believe that season was 2021, 2022. And then one day they said, our interviewer is not here. Can you do it? And I said, yes, I can talk. Let's do it. So my first interview was with Peyton Talbot, who's now in the UFC. So he was the first guy I ever spoke to on a mic in front of a camera. Pressure was on. And from there, I loved it. So I kept doing it. Everything in my career has kind of, I don't want to say fallen into my lap. I've obviously done the work, or else I wouldn't still be doing it. Somebody would have kicked me out by now. But everything that's happened has happened naturally.
I think that's the best way too, right? Mm-hmm. Like when it just happens naturally.
Just organically, yeah.
And kind of the same here. Like the way we kind of got into it, like I explained to you a little bit off camera, like started with Big Dog, then did that event, met a lot of great people. Then from there, 559, working with them. And then just everyone that I'm bringing on, like I say, I don't necessarily want my podcast to be surrounded by the fight game. But obviously, as we're in it, I'm going to take what we got coming. I'm not going to, being in the fight game is amazing. Doing MMA, doing boxing, and doing wrestling, like that right there, I feel like that alone is just a job in itself. Yeah. And especially when you're coming from, I mean, I have a little bit of background as far as, but nowhere near, like I can't go right tomorrow. If they say, hey, I have a spot, will you help me come commentate? Mm-hmm. Like I told you, I'll have to sit there and kind of watch you and I'll kind of jump in, but I'm really going to commentate like a fan. I mean, I can't really be technical, right? And I think the thing that, separates Joe Rogan is he was a fighter. He did it for so long, so he can articulate the move. Daniel Cormier, obviously being a UFC champion and being in the fight game for so long, he can articulate the move. John Anik's just a natural. That guy comes in and just talks. So I think in time, you don't just become that overnight, though. Like you said, right now, what I'm doing is I'm boots on the ground. I'm trying to make sure I'm at events. I'm with the fighters. I'm going to the gyms, and I'm trying to really learn. And I think in time, me being a visual learner, I could pick up from people like yourself, MLH Media, the people that I come across, right? The fighters themselves, right? Yeah. Me working in corrections for so long, I didn't become a good correction officer because, you learn enough from what they try to train you and your your training, and then we do phases, right? But a lot of it was coming from inmates, teaching me how to actually do my job, right? So same thing with the fight thing. I think it's just meeting great people and then just interacting and really just wanting to learn it, right? Because when we went to our first event at 559, I felt like freshman in high school. I'm just like lost and not knowing really what to do, right? So obviously you kind of broke it down a little bit, but how was like your first interaction? Obviously with De La Hoya, you already had been in it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So how was it like your first time like really being involved in the fight game, as far as like I guess you say your first interview, like what was going through your mind, or how was like what were you thinking when you were gonna ask the questions?
Oh man. And I don't want to come off as cocky, but it was so natural. I didn't panic. And mind you, when I say I train Muay Thai and boxing, that was very like green stuff. Like I was just learning the basics.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was a fighter and then I started doing this. It was just like, oh, I'm casually here to lose some weight and throw some hands. That's it.
Yeah.
So, even the technical side of it, I didn't know it too well, but I think that's my confidence too. You naturally have to have that confidence and if I wing this, I'm gonna be fine. And if it doesn't go fine, oh well. And so I'm naturally that kind of person. And so my first interaction with Peyton, which Peyton was fighting for a title, so it was also a very big deal. Naturally, to prepare for that, or what was going through my mind, it was nothing. I blacked out. I blacked out and I winged it, and it just went well. I think I'm the kind of person that I kind of walk with my chest out and my chin high, and I've always just been that person naturally. And so when it came to the first interview, I was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm a very fake it till I make it person, and it's worked out for me so far.
Wow, that's funny. Like, and it's kind of funny, we have the same sayings, like same thing in there at like working in law enforcement. A lot of times you gotta fake it till you make it. You grow as the experience comes, and the way kind of hearing you how you sound is like kind of the same thing, right? You're kind of growing as the opportunities come.
Yeah.
Same thing with us. Like I feel like I keep telling myself like, oh, I'm new to this, I'm new in the game, and I am, but I mean, I'm starting to get a little bit more polished as far as the conversation is not hard for me.
Yeah.
It's about asking the right questions now. Like that's why I asked you, like, what did you ask Fernando Vargas? But you were kind of already explaining, you go into detail, you watch some stuff. Because how many podcasts have you done so far? I mean, do you even do your own podcast or not yet?
I've done so many. A lot of them, I started out doing podcasts like, the 40-minute, an hour sort of setup. And then I slowly understanding, algorithms and understanding people's ability to stay focused on something for so long. I slowly started just doing interviews, short, sweet, to the point. I tell every fighter, give me 15 minutes of your time. I'll give you 6 questions, and that's that. So
so the 6 questions they're always the same, or do you mix them up from each fighter?
My start and my ending is always the same.
And what's the start question?
The start is always an introduction, who this person is, their record, what's coming up, and I say, how's it going? Tell us, typically when I interview a fighter, it's going to be either during fight week or 2 weeks before. And so I'll go, it's fight week. How are you feeling? And so they tell me how they're feeling. Then we'll go into, special questions, depending on the situation. Then I always end it with, my favorite question, and it's the same question across the board, every single fight, is you're walking into that cage, you're walking into that ring, depending on the situation. Tell the fans what they're going to see from so-and-so on Friday night, Saturday night. So it's always like, for example, with Fernando Vargas, I said, okay, you're walking into that ring on Saturday. What should fans expect to see from you in this fight? And then they'll answer that question, and then we'll say sponsors, and we'll shut it off. But they love that question because that question comes off a little bit, I would say a little bit hype, like, oh, yeah, I'm walking into that cage. Okay, I'll tell you what's going to go on. So it always ends on a good point. But everything in between, it really depends on what's going on.
Yeah, and then I think a lot too is like you're saying, it's about the homework too, right? I think as now that I'm really realizing, and I tell people like I don't watch podcasts, I'm gonna have to start watching podcasts because I'm gonna have to start really trying to, if I want to upgrade my craft, I have to start seeing it right from other people's perspectives and just in general. But I felt like at the time I wanted to be authentic, and I just wanted to be myself, real raw and authentic, as I say how the podcast is going to come off.
Yeah.
But at least when it comes to the fight game, I think I'm going to have to start watching podcasts on the fight game?
Yeah, I don't really do that.
No?
No, I don't do that. I have never watched any other podcast.
But you're in a gym though. You have Maestro, so he's kind of helping you out, right?
Yeah, so that's truly where I get all my knowledge from. Is like I said, I can't train anymore. I can only do certain things for a certain amount of time, but I'm there. Like I'm going to training every single day. I'm sitting on a little white plastic chair on the side. And what I love about him is we have the same mindset, and I've kind of grown up with him in my early 20s to where what he's taught me has stuck with me, you know, as the person I am and the way I carry myself in this game specifically. But he takes the time to, while he's training his fighters, his pro fighters, mind you, and he has a little prodigy kid, I love to call him, 17 years old, multiple time champion. You know, while he's training these guys, I'm sitting in the corner, and he will take the time intentionally to come tell me what he's training, why he's training this specific technique, what this is going to help with when it comes to fighting, what it's going to help with when it comes to real life. You know, if you ever get into a situation like that, and he'll explain it in detail why he's doing that. So that's how I mostly know.
He comes and tells you that. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, he'll take the time to do that. Not only because he's very passionate about the game and he's excited to tell somebody who kind of understands, you know, why he's doing what he's doing, but, you know, because he knows it's going to help me build my craft. So now, like I told you at the start, I told him, promise to take me everywhere you go. Now with him, he tells me the same thing. Wherever you go, just promise to take us with you. And so
that's cool.
So you know, we're just mutual like that, to where he's gonna take the time to teach me, because he knows in the end it's gonna benefit all of us. If I get an opportunity to where I can take them with me somewhere and be like, hey, I have fighters, put them on your card, we've done it.
That's
and
cool.
We'll continue to do it. No, so that's
awesome.
Yeah, that's how I've learned a lot of my technical stuff.
I think what I'm about to do one of these days, go out there to you and then go check out the camp and maybe meet Maestro, and then
he's cool.
And just check it out, see how it's going. Because as we're getting in this game, like I'm noticing when I do meet these fighters, like they all have a story, they all work, right? They all have a 9 to 5, and they all trying to make it. But it's just the fact that they're just all good people in general. Like I'm not gonna be honest, when I first got in this, I thought I was gonna meet a bunch of ASSs, you know, and I thought I was gonna come across just a bunch of jerks, and that has not been the case. I'm not saying that there's not those people in this industry, but I've been fortunate enough not to come across that. I've been the people that have been nothing but welcoming. So shout out to everyone that's, you know, allowed us to come in and interview their fighters and welcome us, you know, in their gym and just in general their promotion, right? Yeah. And even yourself, thank you once again for coming on, taking the time. And it's kind of cool to hear the story. I mean, you're way younger than me, and look at you've done this for X amount of years, and it just kind of like really fell into your lap because you wanted to just learn how to fight. And then, I mean, I don't know if you want to go into that, but you want to kind of let us know like a little bit about just your story. Like, I mean, I know that you have a 9 to 5, right? So what do you do besides fight culture, who you're turning into? Like, what is Marissa like as far as like your everyday life? Like, what do you do?
It's so hard because fight culture takes
a lot of it.
Everything. You know, the 9 to 5, I work as a technology specialist. So I have that background. Before that though, I mean, I didn't go to college, so I don't have a college degree. And so, you know, usually to get that technology specialist job, you'll need that certificate at the very least. But that, again, kind of situations where I just get a little bit confident and I go for it and then it works out. So that's how I got that job. But when I first started, I mean, I was 18 years old, obviously getting into the job force because I chose not to go to college. I didn't see it fit, you know, for me personally. And so I worked as a campus supervisor at an elementary school. And this is an elementary school where, a lot of the kids were group home kids. And so that's where I learned a lot of I got a lot of my tough skin from that job because, I mean, those kids, you're working with kids who deal with trauma every single day. And so I love that job. That was a passion job for sure. It wasn't the best pay, but it was a passion job. I was 18 years old. It was good pay at 18 years old, but, you know, obviously I'm grown and married now, so I can't have that job, but that was a passion job. And that's where I truly learned how to interact with people, you know, have that tough skin. Those kids have taught me a lot. And then I moved into becoming a tech specialist because I love technology. I was a photographer that entirety of the time from 18 to now. I still shoot weddings.
Okay, I was gonna ask you down there. I was like, do you still do photography?
Yeah, I still do photography. I still shoot weddings. So that's why I wanted to get into the tech space, because that was another, hobby of mine. And so I knew how to do it. It just was a matter of, I don't have the certificate, but let me go for it anyway. So I scored really high on the test. They kind of forced to hire me at that point.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do now. I love that job. I'm passionate about that job as well. And that's kind of why I haven't quit that job yet either, is because right now I'm doing 2 passions of mine, or 3. Wedding photography, the 9 to 5, and then I'm doing fight culture when I get home. I'm doing fight culture during the day too sometimes. Sorry, hopefully my boss isn't watching, but a lot of my like stories and interactions and stuff, they're all from work.
Well, I was calling you fight culture. Remember, I had to tell you like, hey, sorry, but what is your name? Because I was calling you fight culture. I've been telling my wife, I was like, yeah, fight culture's coming.
I've made it my entire identity.
Yeah.
And that's just what you have to do. When you want to build a brand, you make that your identity. You make it so when people say hi to you, they a lot of people just straight up call me fight culture when they see me. It does happen. It happens at shows. It happens from fighters, and then I have to be like, yeah, my name's Marissa. Or a lot of the time they don't know I'm a female. So a lot of my DMs from fighters are like, oh, thanks, bro, and I'm like, like, I'm not your bro, but it's okay. It does. It became a part of me. It's my identity.
Yeah, and then kind of just hearing about it. So I bring everybody on the podcast now, and I give all the thanks and praise to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, right? And I start every podcast with a Bible verse. And I'm once again, just like the Lord, I'm not pushy and I'm a gentleman. I ask the question, but I'm going to ask you because it kind of sounds like it. What is your relationship like with the Lord?
So that's exactly what it is. I have a relationship. With my Lord. I don't put a label on it other than that. I have a relationship. It's still a growing relationship.
For sure.
It's been an up and down thing. In high school, I was involved in a lot of Christian groups. And then from there, naturally, as you're a young adult, it kind of falls off and you lose yourself a little bit. And then from there, it's still a growing relationship, but there is a relationship. And I always tell people that's just all it is right now, is a relationship.
Yeah, because my thing is like, it's not about religion, it's about relationship,
Yes.
right? I did not grow up in a church home. I didn't know the Lord up until 2.5 years ago, right? I had told you prior to Inside the Pod with Lou being born, just like fight culture, right? I was I went to work for the sheriff department, worked in law enforcement, corrections specifically for 10 plus years, and was always blessed in a way of always having good money, being able to purchase a home, have a family, health. I never really thanked the Lord for nothing. And then things started falling apart. And when that started happening, I was like, okay, I could do a lot of this, but I wasn't doing any of this, and then finally when I started doing that, and the relationship started to build, right? And I tell people, I don't have a denomination. I don't say Christian, Catholic, or this or that or this, right? And when I talk to people, and like, just like you said, it's a relationship. Yours is different than mine. It's going to be different than that person's, and that person's, and that person's. And I'm not here to tell you, hey, you need to be this way. You need to do this and you need to do that. So when I tell people it's not about religion, it's about relationship. I'm not telling you not to go to church. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm telling you, go have that relationship, know the Lord, and He'll guide you. He'll direct your steps, right? And for me, I think that's where my gratitude, my appreciation has come. And when I generally link up with people, like I was telling you, I try to be who I am on camera, who I am off camera. Like, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without the Lord. As far as like, I've known all these connections in my life. Like I was telling you, like off camera, like, oh, this person, this person, and this person. And I've always had that, but now I'm finally finding my purpose, right? And it's kind of funny because, I just left a job that probably paid me as much as I was as an officer, right? And it was a great job, but it wasn't fulfilling. It was not something that I'd like to say I like to do. However, I'm in my late 30s. I have a family, I have a mortgage, I have bills. So unfortunately, the world is ran off of money, right? So I know that I'm going to have to eventually get back into the workforce, and I want to do stuff that I love. And I initially thought that the podcast, which is, and I had to learn this, right? I assumed it was going to go a certain way just because conversations were happening. But just like the fight game, like I told you, as a commentator and as an interviewer, we have to adjust, right? And I feel like right now I'm doing the adjustment as we go. But being able to land great people and just being able to land certain interviews, I'm understanding that this is still from the Lord. I just have to be obedient when it comes to truly following Him, having that relationship, kind of listening. I've always been a stubborn person.
Yeah.
Whatever I think I say goes, kind of, right? And I generally try to be like, okay, slow down, take a deep breath. Lord, where do you want me? Right. And so now that's where I'm at right now. And I appreciate that answer, because a lot of people don't like to talk about it. And I'm not here to like force it after that. I'll ask the question and then we'll kind of move on. But I let everyone know that this is how this podcast was formed, and that's how it's going to be as far as the Bible reading, the Bible verse reading, and then just the question real fast,
Yeah.
So thank you for just not really everyone kind of like, and once again, I'm not here to like, well, that's what we're going to talk about the whole time, but it's just something that has to come up for me, because you just hearing your story a little bit, like you've been kind of like in a way, like how it's happening with me right now. You kind of were placed in certain spots, and it's kind of, you're blossoming, and you do naturally talk. You're a really good talker. I mean, and being a commentator, you have to be that way, because there's stuff that you said, you could say certain things up to a certain point, but you have to learn how to carry the conversation too, right? So do you usually have a partner or partners when you're commentating, or have you ever commentated by yourself?
Oh my gosh. So I, with the gig that was granted to me by my friend at 2 and I Beat Down, after that show, my friend ended up moving to the Bay Area. So it was just me for a good 5-6 shows.
Okay.
And when I tell you that is the most difficult thing ever, I can't even put it to words how difficult it is to commentate a fight on your own. And doing it multiple shows, it was stressing me out. Luckily now I have a partner, Blake Perry, professional MMA fighter, and Terrence Saturn, professional MMA fighter. He was a former A1 flyweight champion. He just got signed to the UFC. So now they're with me. I brought them in, and I thank 2 and I Beat Down for allowing me to do that. It kind of was like, hey guys, I need help.
Yeah.
But yeah, commentating shows alone is the hardest thing ever. It is, your voice gets raspy. You have to talk and entertain the entire 6 hours, however long the show is. You don't have
that long sometimes.
Oh, sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes I like the show tomorrow. I've worked with them. Our last event with Valley Fight Series was a 2-day event. So the first night was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That went on from 2 to 10 p.m.
Oh, 8 hours.
The next day was the MMA Muay Thai show. That went on from 2 to 3 a.m.
13 hours.
13 hours.
Jeez.
So that was a 2-day show, talking back to back for almost, 16,
and you were by yourself.
hours. That wasn't by myself, thank
like,
God. That was with Jenna the Gem Creason, who's headlining the show tomorrow for her boxing fight. But that was hard, but I still wouldn't even compare that to commentating alone. Commentating alone is miserable. But, if it's there, I'm going to adjust. I'm going to do it. But it is one of the most difficult things, just because you don't have somebody to bounce off of. You don't get a break to take a drink of water. Hopefully they have an intermission, which thank God they did. But yeah, that is one of the most difficult things to do.
Wow. It sounds like it.
Yeah. Because typically, you watch UFC fights, you watch boxing fights, you're like, they bounce off of each other. Somebody says something and then you play off that. And then you say something and they'll play off your comment. It's like, doing it by yourself is talking to a wall.
Yeah.
It is.
And then are these fights, like, are they broadcasted like over the internet?
Yeah, they're on YouTube,
Okay.
which is even worse. When I get booked for a commentary gig and they tell me it's on YouTube, it stresses me out, because they play the YouTube version right in front of you to get replays and whatnot, and you can see all the live comments right under there. So if I say something wrong, they're like, oh, you said my brother's last name wrong, or oh, this girl sounds like this and that, like you see all. I don't get too much hate, thank God. But I do get a lot of, you said my brother's name wrong, what's up with that? Or wow, this is bias, so.
Do they ever, like, okay, so that's what I was gonna ask you too. Like, obviously in the fight game, everyone's coming from different backgrounds and different areas. And there are some names that are gonna be hard to pronounce,
Yes.
right? So how, do they give you like a list first of how to pronounce them, or how does that work for you?
No, not how. They give me a list of names and it's all luck from there.
Okay.
Luckily, I've been able to do this for long enough to where I can kind of, figure it out for myself. But sometimes I'll have broadcast partners who, co-commentators who really mess it up and they don't get the hint that I'm saying it right, especially with with Mexican last names. Like, there's certain ways to say it, or, some people can completely butcher Mexican last names. And I once had a commentating partner who was just butchering it the entire time. I was saying it clear, like, this is how you say it. I was kind of like hinting like, hey, fix it. But he said it the entire fight wrong. And so it was stressing me out, threw my game off. But you see the comments just flooding like, dude, what is up with this guy? He's heard it like 5 times. But yeah, but when it comes to like we have a lot of Dagestani fighters now, especially when AKA over there in Tracy, that's like DC, all those guys over there, Cain Velasquez, they all train at AKA Khabib, they bring their guys here. And so they have a lot of Dagestani fighters who come in now. And so now you got to learn how to pronounce those last names. So those ones, if I see it on the list and I'm there early enough, I'm going to the back and I'm saying, hey, how do you pronounce this? Break it down for me. So I'll take the time to do that. A lot of people don't, but I do, and I know Michael does too. So it's very important. It means a lot to the fighters. They're using these clips, like get their last names right, get their first names right. Sometimes the first names are hard too.
No, I do see that, and I look at it like it's always been like a question of mine. So thank you for kind of answering it, because now that I'm kind of getting in this, I kind of really. At least for now, I've limited myself to I just want a podcast, for now. But obviously, if the opportunity presents itself where they're like, hey, we want you to do, because with Big Dog, I did the post-fight interview. And that was an experience in itself, which, it was a great one. And I felt like that was all on the fly. Like you said, I kind of just winged it. Was helped a lot by, the promoters of the fight, and just the fighters in general, their camps or coaches. Like I remember one coach was like, dude, you need to hype it up, bro. You're too just, and I'm like, this is my first, fight. But and then later on, I think when I had took the time to go to him, like, okay, well, how do you think I should hype it up? Like, and I go, I'm not trying to be a douche. I'm just asking because this is like my first event. He's like, oh, I didn't know this was your first event.
Oh.
And so then it was like, okay, yeah, you need to do like the way you kind of said it, like ask them the record, where do they fight out of, what you expect, like, just get them to, bring that, energy to your.
To be fair, I would rate post-fight interviews as more difficult than commentating.
Really?
100%. So with post-fight interviews, and so I did a lot of post-fight interviews as well, more specifically in boxing. But with post-fight interviews, my format at the very least is, okay, we're watching the fight in between finishing up somebody else's interview and waiting for them to get done. So we're watching the fight. The first thing I do, and this is before I turn on the mic, is, okay, first, how do you pronounce your name? And then remind me how you won that fight, because you always want to bring that up. So that will always be like the first statement. I'm here with John Doe, who just won his amateur debut via knockout in the first round. How did that feel? And that'll be the first question. And then from there, I personally like to go into what they did. So like with boxing, I'm always like, you had your opponent on the back foot. Once he was on the ropes, you teed off and you went to the body, head, and ultimately got that knockout. Was that what you were working in camp this time? And they'll go on that. So that's why I think post-fight interviews are a lot more difficult, because you have to be attentive and understanding of what went on in the fight, because that's what they truly want to talk about. You'll have some people who are newer and will be like, asking about who are your biggest supporters, who would you dedicate this fight to, which is good. They're good questions to end on, but fighters really want to talk about what they just did in the cage.
Yeah, no, and I had to go back and review mine because I don't even remember. I just was, like I said, it was just flowing.
Yeah.
And they did it on pay-per-view that day.
Oh.
So one of the guys that came, this is how I knew it was like, okay, my moment.
Yeah.
Was like the guy that's coming and following me. He's like a streamer.
Okay.
So he's streaming the fight, and then he comes up, and the gentleman had just came up. I think his name is the Game Changer.
Okay.
So he just knocked the guy out. Right?
Yeah.
And he's all excited. So he kind of made it a little more easier for because I go, is this your Big Dog debut? He's like, yeah. So it was like, okay, boom, how does it feel? Let the people know. And so when I saw it, and then like one of my guys tapped me, he's like, bro, we're live, like pay-per-view. And it's like, and so I don't even really remember how it went. I just remember it went good enough to where later on he came back to me. He's like, hey, bro, good interview.
Oh, there you go.
And so I was like, but in that moment, I was like, oh, this is really happening.
Yeah.
Like this is now.
It's difficult. It's go, go, go. You're feeling the energy of your fighter who just came off probably a big win in their career. So, I mean, naturally as human beings, we feel each other's energy. You know, if you're that in tune with it, you'll feel somebody's energy. And so when you're there with somebody who's all hyped up, just, you know, possibly knock somebody out, you know, naturally your heart starts racing too. Like, oh yeah, you did it. You know, like, so it's hard. You have to calm yourself down, slow yourself down. So you're not, one, screaming in the mic, and two, not talking too fast. So you're fighter or you're the
or
person
just
you're
nervous and you can't even get the word out,
Yeah,
right? You're like,
yeah. So you have to really just be in tune with yourself. Like, okay, I gotta chill out for a second. Let me figure out what I'm gonna say. Let me remember what I just saw, because a lot of the times it's hard to remember what you just saw because the energy's high. And yeah, you got to be able to chill out.
And see, with us, it's like with us that day, we didn't even get to watch any of the fights. Because I literally interviewed everyone, win or lose. So it's like, just come, we'll interview you, you know. And so as they were finishing up those fights, you know, remember, Big Dog is bare knuckle,
right?
So some of them were not going the 2-3 rounds that they're supposed to. They're in the first round. So as I'm finishing up, say, an interview with you, I have the next fighter waiting.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of like, so I never really got to see. So I kind of went off the vibe of. Speaking of vibes, like I kind of had an idea if you lost or won,
right? Because
of the way they were just like, and so I was like, okay. And I would even tell them like I didn't watch any of the fight, so just kind of like guide me with it, because I was interviewing them. They're like, I got you. And so whether you win and you're all pumped up, so it's like, you know, and so it was kind of easy. Like I said, I could hold a conversation, but to ask the proper questions, right? Like, so I think the thing with me is a lot of that day, a lot of them was their debuts. So it was kind of not a little easier to kind of jump in it, because this was their debut of the promotion. So hey, how did it feel? And a lot of times when you're boxing, you have gloves. The difference in this one was it's bare knuckle, right? So it's like people were kind of chiming off of that, you know, how they prepared for that, because you know, most times when you're going into a fight, like even in MMA, you have gloves. You know? So a lot of guys like, hey, it's different, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, yeah, you know. And so, but yeah, I kind of get you as far as that goes, and it's to really keep it flowing too, you know. And you being a commentator, like you said, there's only so much you can say where you're like, okay, did I repeat myself?
Yeah.
Did I say this? Like, I think sometimes when I'm trying to end an interview, I'll be like, all right, well, do you have anything else left to say? Right. And then say you do say something, and now it's something where we go off for another 20, 30 minutes because it's a good comment, or it leads us into whatever. And I feel like I have to, that's why I say I really want to watch you when you, at one of your fights, and just maybe down the road, and maybe you should let us know. Like, that's the next question I was gonna ask you. Like, obviously we know you have an event tomorrow, but what's kind of like the future for fight culture? What do you have going on like in the next few weeks to few months?
Let's see. So we're in September. In October, I have Muay Thai. I have boxing again.
Boxing, as far as
I got a lot of events.
And do you specifically work? I know you said that your fight culture, you go over different events, but when you do boxing, are you in it with where you're like at a July 12th Save Mart Center, or are you in different areas, or how does that work? Is it like professional boxing, amateur boxing?
It's all professional boxing, and for that, so for different promotions, I do different things.
Okay.
I will label myself as a jack of all trades because I feel like I've earned that title. Not to be cocky, but
no, for sure,
there are things I have worked hard at, and this is one thing I've worked very hard at, which is being a jack of all trades. So I work with a ton of promotions. Not only work with, but work for. Mm-hmm. I always make it clear I'm not their employee, but I'm gonna do the job that you hired me to do.
Got it.
So with these two boxing promotions that I work with in October, one of them I am their night of social media manager. So I'll post fight night clips. I'll post the winner. I'll post winner graphics. So I'll graphic design like their image with the winner wording, and I'll post that on Instagram and make sure it gets likes, collab with the correct people. So I'll manage the social media. With the other promotion, I am a commentator and post-fight interviewer. So I really do, I do so much.
So you're like the Rogan of the Valley. In a way,
it's a goal.
Okay.
You could say, but yeah, I truly, I do a lot. I do a lot of different things for these promotions. Even with Valley Fight Series, I was a matchmaker. I'm still, they call me now a fighter relationship person. I forgot what the actual title is, but I'm a matchmaker technically for that promotion that I'm commentating for tomorrow. So matchmaker, social media manager, The fighters that I work with at my team, I get them fights. So I would say I'm a manager for them too. Photographer, videographer, commentator, interviewer.
So jack of all trades, like you
Jack of all
said.
trades, but that has always been my goal.
Yeah.
Because one, I like cash flow. I mean, naturally, I need it. I mean, we all kind of need it now, unfortunately. So one, I like to make money, and two, wherever I'm needed, I want to be.
For sure.
Because that's just not going to get my name out there. It's going to get my name out there. You're going to know who I am. You're going to be forced to know who I am because you got to hire me. So,
I like that.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm going to be honest. That's a goal of ours. Like Inside the Pod with Lou, as being a podcast, like we want to be in everything that we can.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it has to make sense for us too. You know, like you said, unfortunately, being able to travel and all these things that right now it's coming out of our own pocket.
Yeah.
You know, we're not getting necessarily paid for it, but we have to take the opportunities that present itself. And the networking is the huge thing, you know,
Yeah.
Us going to these events, we're able to meet all these different camps, different fighters, you know, and then at that point, I believe that's where I have to bring my sales skills in. You know, I have to be a closer. I have to make sure that I get Fight Culture to come on the podcast. I have to make sure I get the fighter to want to come on the podcast and present like what we have to offer to them, you know. And right now, unfortunately, as we're growing, I look at our socials and I never knew like the monetization and what this is and that is. And I'm barely learning all that, you know,
Right.
within. So that's why I tell you, like, when I jumped in this, I'm thinking like I had a certain idea of what it was going to be, but had no idea what it's going to be at the same time.
Exactly.
But I mean, I think I would have never gained the experience that I did if I wouldn't have attempted to necessarily go all in on these last 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So I feel like just because I go back to work doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to do what I'm doing. I'm going to have to just make it my 9 to 5, but at the same time be Inside the Pod with Lou after.
Yeah.
And then I think that's where the real dreams come. Like later on, hopefully in the next 10 years, we'll manifest it when we're both up there at the top. We'll look at each other and be like, hey, well, we both had to put the work in. And you know, it takes a lot of, unfortunately, it's a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And it's a lot of like, it's kind of like life, you know. One day it's a good day, the next day it's a bad day, but you got to live the bad days like they're the good too. You got to somehow try to see, I guess, the good of everything, right? And that's where I think when I come in as a believer, and I'll drop my favorite Bible verse. I haven't really said on every podcast, but I try to say the same Bible verse everywhere, right? So Isaiah 60:22. So when the time is right, the Lord will make it happen. So it comes to timing, right? You got to make sure that your timing is there, and however that does work for you and the person, everyone's different. I feel like I'm a chameleon. I feel like I could be anywhere and fit in, you know, whether it's going to be in a fight, if I'm going to be around, let's say, an influencer that does, you know, social media. Like I said, we just landed a big time comedian, and I don't want to necessarily drop it quite yet because he did say he'll come on, but I want to make sure I confirm it.
Right.
He's up and coming from Fresno. So I feel like when we get him on, people are going to be like, what? He got a comedian on, you know? So, and in time, there's so many stuff, like kind of like yourself. We have a lot of stuff in the background in our brewing. And I feel like when we were able to release it, I think it's just a matter of time. I just want to make sure I remain humble. And I continue to remember what the goal was. The goal is not to be famous.
Yeah.
The goal is to work like you're doing, and we're out here. And I think the reward is exactly that, you know, working the events, getting to meet the people and interacting. You know, I've never really traveled. I mean, I know that California is, but I'm talking like I really want to travel, you know. And what I wanted to ask you too is obviously you landing that Fernando Vargas interview, which was huge, by the way. Was there ever of you trying to go to that fight in Vegas?
Yeah. So that media process, the media credential process in boxing is so cutthroat. It is so like, and like I said, boxing has been around forever. So a lot of these people who work for these media companies, I mean, they're vetted in, you know, like you kind of know like, okay, Mo Boxing, no problem. They're one of a friend of mine. They go into these bigger fights and they get credentialed because they've been in boxing for so long.
Yeah.
If you haven't been in boxing, covering boxing for 10 plus years, you're most likely not getting into those big fights. So I tried, and then I was going to cover as a co-partnered kind of thing where I was going to go with one brand and also say, this is, you know, so-and-so and Fight Culture covering Canelo Crawford, blah, 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 blah. But it didn't work out, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm still very far from being able to cover an event that
Big.
of that
'Cause
magnitude.
that was like the event.
That was the event.
Yeah.
It's been a very long, dry season of big boxing fights, and that was finally it. So, you know, you had to be the who's who to be able to get in there and cover that fight. So, yeah, I tried with that one, but you know, it just didn't work out. I got credentialed for a Canelo fight last year.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't able to go. I caught COVID.
Oh.
So I didn't get to go, but a friend of mine got to go and cover on behalf of Fight Culture. So that was lucky. That was very lucky. But this one, I kind of went into it knowing, you know, you have to apply for credentials, wait for them to approve you all the way up until literally that Monday. You'll find out if you got credentialed for the fight on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
So regardless of how far it is, you know, you have to still book hotel, book travel, whatnot. You won't find out until Monday. So right now in my career, can't book anything because I don't know if I'm ever going to get credentialed, but you know, once in 10 years, hopefully I can. Yeah, it's boxing's cutthroat.
Yeah.
That there's history there.
And I think that's kind of good for that you're saying that out there to people, because at the end of the day, like not only did I not know this, like I just think people in general want to ask, because when I first saw, like, we had already talked prior, like, about you coming on, and then I saw that you landed Fernando Vargas, and I was like, what the heck? Like, that's a big land, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's why I was curious, like, obviously him being the co-main event, I was like, is she going to cover the fight? And then, well, now you kind of just broke it down of how things work out. But
yeah, it's difficult. Like, again, you have to be in this for years when it comes to those bigger fights. Like, I forgot which fight it was. It was another big fight, and I didn't get credentialed for it. But like, it's just a matter of I'm gonna go for it. But if I don't get it, I understand why.
Yeah,
there's so many boxing media channels. Boxing and boxing media goes hand in hand. Like MMA and MMA media does not go hand in hand. You'll find out about a UFC fight regardless if the media is covering it or not. Boxing and boxing media, though, they have the greatest relationship ever. Like, they appreciate the media coverage because they know that's what's getting everybody to talk about these fights. And so, you know, if you haven't been doing it for a while, they don't have to bring you in. And they know that because they have great reporters in boxing. Do I think they have great reporters in the UFC? Absolutely not. I do not think. I think, in my opinion, I truly believe, and if anybody's watching this from the UFC, don't blame him. These are my opinions. But I truly believe the UFC cherry picks who comes and covers their fights. And they ensure that these are people who are not asking those, you know, deep questions, or why aren't we getting this fight? Why aren't we getting that fight? Why is this implemented? Where in boxing, they don't care. They will ask promoters, fighters, anything and everything. And promoters and fighters allow it because that's what gets people talking. But the UFC doesn't need that right now because they're so new, they're hot and fresh. And they know that. Dana White knows that.
Do you think that, obviously Dana White joining boxing, do you think he's going to bring some of that UFC to boxing now?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't like it.
No?
I don't like it. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of boxing people don't like it. But it's hard because I don't want to say boxing is a dying sport, but boxing is a dying sport. Boxing has been kept alive by Jake Paul. And I truly believe that. I truly believe he brought a new resurgence into it. And once boxing loses Crawford, loses fighters like Canelo, loses fighters like Fury's coming back, I'm assuming, but loses fighters like Fury, boxing is going to be a little like, what's going on?
Yeah.
The only true stars in boxing right now are those 137 guys, 140 guys, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Lamont Roach. Like, you know, you can only name those little guys, but you can't name any other guys beyond that. But that's because they don't have any stars right now. They have Jake Paul.
You know, and that's so funny that you mentioned that, and so crazy, because I'm gonna be honest, prior to getting into this fight game, I call it the fight game because I'm more like MMA, boxing, and wrestling, right? I didn't care for boxing like that. I didn't, you know, I grew up a De La Hoya fan because, you know, Mexican background. We used to barbecue on a Saturday, watch him come up. I knew Fernando Vargas Sr., Mayweather, you know, I'm trying to think who else was Julio Cesar Chavez, you know, Sr., and, you know, Whitaker, right?
Yeah.
Guys like that all fought, but mainly De La Hoya was like the guy.
Right.
And then, so obviously him coming in to be in the promotions, like I knew of Golden Boy. I didn't know any of the fighters.
Right.
And so I'm the first one to say I was never a boxing fan. Like if there was a big boxing event, I'm not going to watch it.
Right.
You know, just naturally, like nothing against it. Same thing in the UFC was a little different because speaking of AKA, right? My uncle was living or working in well, obviously living there when he was working in Yuma, Arizona. And so Cain Velasquez was on the come up, right? And so he met Cain Velasquez's brother. And so Cain Velasquez's brother, obviously, Cain fought, he wrestled at Arizona State. So he's like, hey, my brother's up and coming. He's amateur at the time, and I think he was in Strikeforce.
Yeah.
And so you got to watch him. He's going to make his UFC debut. So my uncle comes back. Hey, we all used to get together and watch like Raider games. And we would watch boxing, like I said, De La Hoya back then. But he's like, hey, you guys got to watch. He's called Cain. Cain, you got to watch him. You got to watch him. And so we all watched him one day. And I remember the I'll never forget the fight because we come out and he, Brown Pride, and he comes out and it's like, oh, shoot, right?
Yeah.
And then he fought Chuck Congo.
Yes.
And then Congo hits him with this crazy uppercut. Most dudes get knocked out. Goes to his one knee, and then all he does, it just kicks in naturally. He's wrestling. Picks him up, lifts him, takes him down. And we're all like, oh, And so everyone got pumped up. And then out of nowhere, Cain started becoming a rising star. And then the UFC, when they fought him with Lesnar, it was like big, Yep. Lesnar was coming from the WWE side, had the WWE shirt on, right? And so it was like, oh, wow. But this guy was a real fighter, And then through time, that's what kind of got me back into the UFC. So then obviously DC coming up, being Cain's, partner at AKA, Khabib, right? Then you start, then the notorious, Conor McGregor started coming up. And then for a while, MMA hit, they got hot. They started getting these stars.
Yeah.
And then I think at the time, obviously Bud Crawford had been coming up and through slowly, but I'm not trying to knock Crawford at all. Obviously he's now he's famous. He's world, known everywhere because of this event that happened on Netflix. But no one really knew who he was. Like I said, you all knew who. I feel like boxing passed it down from Cesar Chavez to De La Hoya to Mayweather. Then they kind of gave it to Canelo, and now Crawford. The only thing about Crawford taking it now is he's 37, so he might retire soon. Yeah. So who's going to be the next, right? And so I feel like you said you named all these fighters, but can they really carry the sport of boxing? I'm not sure. We're not sure yet, right? And as I'm getting into it, I'll drop a Golden Boy fighter who I think is going to be something big one day. He's young. Samuel Trouble Castellanos out of Hollister. He's a Golden Boy fighter. He's actually I think he's going to fight in this next coming fight in November. He's in Philadelphia right now training. Yeah. We had actually podcasted with him.
Oh, nice.
Met him at the July 11th. And so, like I said, when we got there, the cool thing about that story, so like kind of like how you're kind of getting into it, we're 4 months in this. Like we're kind of like, meeting people like you and meeting all these people. I come across this kid, and I don't try to come off cocky. Maybe it may sound cocky, but I was just like, hey, in 3 years we'll be a big podcast, right? And then so the time the grandpa was like, well, he's the next thing in boxing. If you're gonna be the next podcaster, this is the next thing in boxing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and then I shook his hand. He's a real humble kid, and the thing is, he's a follower of the Lord, right? And so we started talking, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, well, here, get my Instagram. He goes, no, get my number.
Yeah.
So he gives me his phone number. We ended up going to the fight. He knocks the dude out like in 15 seconds, I think.
That was crazy.
And then so I was like, we started communicating. And then as we come up, met Coach. We went up to Hollister. I feel like I never really watched him fight. I mean, that day was not really a real fight, in my opinion. I didn't really get to see nothing. He did like one hit and knocked the guy out.
Yeah.
But this next one coming up I don't think they're going to fight in Texas, but we'll actually get to see. And now I'm interested, though. And not only am I interested in him, I'm interested in all these other boxers coming up, And I feel like as the podcast, I want to be able to have the conversation like we're having, and people to really be like, okay, like, because most people like me that were on the fence, like, okay, am I going to watch it? I'm not going to watch it. I was used to and I announced it the other day, I think when I interviewed Cisco Hurtado for 559, the welterweight champ. I was like, boxing to me, and I dropped Jake Paul. I was like, you think of the Jake Pauls, and I said Conor McGregor's, the Mike Tysons. Like that's the names you think of, but it's really not giving the flowers to these other fighters that are really working hard and they're doing their thing. And I think, do you think that's a lack of even though we do have great media in boxing, do you think it's the lack? Because I noticed a lot of these fighters, when they have their Instagram or their media, they don't push it. Like they're kind of silent.
Yeah.
They have a lot of followers, but they don't post. Do you think that hurts them?
Oh yeah. When fighters don't promote their own fights, it hurts them, and that's kind of why we don't have a star in boxing. That's kind of why, because none of them do it. And then it's just like, oh, okay, you have a name, you have a history, some bickering, or the random times they get on Twitter is the only time they're fighting with somebody, verbally. And so that's what gets the fight excited. But, there's no stars. So you can name those 5 names. They've all these 5 names have to fight each other. They're all in the same weight class. They're all kind of top 5, top 6. But once that dies out, it's done. They don't promote because they don't have to. No, regardless, they're going to make that 200 mil, 20 mil, 10 mil, whatever they're making. They're making way more than a UFC fighter. I'll tell you that.
No, for sure.
But no matter what, they know they're making that 500K, 800K, 20 mil. I'll say 20 mil. That's more closer to what they'll probably make.
That's what Ryan Garcia's making a fight.
Yeah, 5 mil, 8 mil, 10 mil, all that. So they don't promote anymore because
they don't have to.
They don't have to. They don't have to because naturally boxing is bringing in that kind of money. Do I know how? Absolutely not. Well, people like Turkey, Al Sheikh, and that's a whole discussion.
That's another part too. Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know where they're getting this money from because like I said, I still think boxing is a dying sport. Without Jake Paul, it would have been dead by now.
You think so? Mm-hmm. Do you think that Jake Paul's fights are set up or they're real? I mean, that's kind of a vague question too. So the best answer you can is you can.
They're set up to his advantage. I'll say that. A lot in that way. I mean, like, when they do sanctioning in Florida right now, they have to do the Tank versus Jake Paul back in Florida because they didn't get sanctioned in Georgia. Florida has one of the most relaxed sanctioning bodies in boxing. So when Jake Paul fights people, he fights people with a black glove and a white glove every single time. He does 2 different colors gloves. And so what a lot of people don't realize is when you're fighting someone with 2 different colored gloves, that is very disorienting. As a fighter, you're in front of somebody and somebody has a black glove and a white glove and all this distraction in the back, the bright lights under you. That's disorienting. To get hit with a jab by a black glove and now you got to watch out for a white glove like that. It's disorienting. So is it set up in his advantage? Absolutely. People might not have picked up on that. The fact that he wears the 2 different gloves. He wears the 2 different color shoes. It's all intentional. Do I think they're rigged to the fact where people get knocked down on purpose?
Maybe.
Likely. It's very likely. Do I think he's roided up? Absolutely. That guy is on steroids like crazy. He does a cycle probably before each fight, no doubt. But like this Tank and Jake Paul fight that's coming up. Again,
I mean, and Tank's probably trying to get paid too, right?
Tank is trying to get paid. That's all it is, and I'll respect it. I think I posted a story on this the other day. I respect it. You need to make money to make sure your family's taken care of. You're taken care of. Everything's taken care of.
Because he's respectfully one of the best fighters in boxing.
He is.
So I mean, why would you go?
He is. He would have been the next star. It would have been Crawford, obviously. It would have been from Canelo to Crawford. Crawford retire in a year, and it would have gone down to Gervonta Davis.
Do you think that the Jake Paul hurts his legacy?
No, not at all.
You think it promotes?
I think the fact that people are already mad enough. I don't think it can get any worse when it comes to fight night. But I don't think it taints his legacy at all. They know who he is, what he's done. I think at this point you just got to respect. A man wants to make sure his family's good.
Yeah.
I mean,
he beat King Ryan. I mean, he knocked, with that shot. And it's like, Ryan's not no...
Rolly Romero, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, he's knocked some of the top dogs out. So it's not like he's just this, fighter that's in the back end of his career. Mm-hmm. Just, no, he's like kind of in his prime or barely entering his prime. Or I don't even think I know his age. He's like mid-20s, right? Or maybe late 20s? I think late 20s actually. But I mean... like you said, I would say he touched his prime and he's not done yet, but why fight more? Why take more difficult fights when you can get a big old payday that'll probably equal the next 4 fights that you have to do to be a world champion? Why take the damage? Why have CTE for the rest of your life and, not be able to use your hands correctly, be disoriented, waking up with headaches? Why? No necessary damage. Get your money and go. That is so true.
Yeah.
And then do you think that the Canelo loss over this past big super fight, do you think that hurt boxing?
No. I think boxing purists love Bud's story. Boxing purists were so happy. Mexicanos, heartbroken. But they'll be all right. They'll be all right. We have Pitbull Cruz. We have other up and coming young Mexican fighters. But I think purists of boxing, I think they're okay with Bud winning that. I had Bud winning that. I knew he was going to win that fight.
Really?
Unfortunately. I wanted Canelo to win, for the people, for
Yeah,
the culture.
for sure.
But Bud's a beautiful technical fighter. So I kind of called that one. I won some money on that.
And then he brought it. I mean, throughout the fight, he fought his fight. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even bring it to the fact that Canelo's old. I mean, did it play a part? Absolutely. But that man does not like to move. That man does not like to fight a fighter who moves. He likes to plant and throw that liver shot. And that's usually how he breaks down the tree, is he throws that liver shot and everybody's dropping their hands and then boom, knockout, or goes to decision typically. But he works that body by planting that foot and cutting off the ring. But he's not good with anybody else who does any lateral movement. So that's why he lost to Bivol. That's why he lost to Crawford.
Yeah, no, that's true. So, well, with that being said, is there anything else that you kind of want to talk about? I mean, this is like more of like a part one. I felt like we got to know a little bit about fight culture and who you are, what you're about, what we can have expecting to, coming from you, and just the stuff that you're doing for the Valley, and just in general, right? Like, I guess
that's something I'd really like to emphasize too.
What's that?
A lot of people like to ask, like, where do you see yourself going with this? The only goal I ever had was to put Central Valley fighters on a platform or other fighters on a platform. I do not want to get to the UFC. I don't want to get to, these big fights. I don't want to be hired or employed by the UFC, ESPN, anybody. I don't want to do any of that. I am completely content with putting on for my people. And that's always been my goal. Anybody who's like-minded, that a fighter that, represents what I like to say, I have it on my shirt, representation of legal violence. Anybody who's willing to go in there and scrap, I love to represent. So that's my biggest goal. I just want to put on for my people here because we don't have enough of that. And it's growing, thank God. We have a lot more people coming in, people like you who are eager and excited to do it. Love that. But I don't have a bigger goal than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to make a nice stream of income doing it here. But I also just want to be able to come and watch up and comers reach their full potential. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. Any advice I have for you? Don't buy your followers. That's one of my biggest pieces of advice I ever tell anybody. Do not buy your followers on Instagram because you can do it, but
really?
Don't do it. Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Don't do it. So I mean,
I do get hit up on a lot in the DMs with like, hey, do you want to promote?
Yeah.
Pay X amount of money to
don't
get.
do it.
But I can't. I mean, obviously coming from my background and my message, I feel I truly believe in what I say. So like Isaiah 60:22. So when the time is truly right, the Lord will make it happen. And I feel like I explained to you on kind of off camera, the relationships that I know I can go through and I know I could make certain things happen. I'm allowing the Lord to put me in the positions because when I truly get there, I want to be respected by my peers. I want people to understand, like, I just wasn't a plant. And then one day I'm just here and now I'm interviewing all these big fighters and I'm on this. No, I want people to know, like, hey, I went through the trenches with you. Like, I went to learn. I went to because I'm like you. My biggest goal is Central Valley talent. Yeah. I just want to promote. And then not only fighting, but like I said, being able to do the high school football right now.
I know. That's exciting.
And not only that, just when I see the kids light up, and they're telling me their stories. Like, I remember having one of my first, schools I went to, right? Me and my wife were new to it, so we didn't know. So she's out there taking the video and the camera and the pictures, and I'm sitting down on the thing, and this student comes up to me. And like I said, one of my questions I ask everybody is, what's your relationship like with the Lord? And he comes up to me and he said, he goes, I needed to hear that. I'm trying to like improve my relationship. And I was like, wow, this is why we're doing it. Yeah. And so as I'm continuing to go down this route, and like I tell people, not everyone, I don't, even if you tell me like, I don't want to talk about that. Okay, then I'm a gentleman myself, but the Lord's a gentleman himself. I'm just going to ask. We can move on to the next question. But I asked you, for however, if I planted that little seed, then that's good. I don't have to necessarily be the one to bring you to the Lord. If I'm the one that just lets you know, like, hey, I'm only here because of the Lord, and as I'm learning in the craft, like I said, the biggest thing for me is just remaining humble, like I think with your thing too, is I think once we do start getting a stream of income, like that'll be just a blessing in itself. I mean, don't get me wrong, working for the UFC and maybe possibly going one day to ESPN or working for the biggest promoters in boxing, that'd be all great. But at the same time, it's like, am I going to have this kind of peace? Am I going to be able to sit here and talk to people like this and have a genuine conversation? Or is it all going to be fake? You know, when the sponsors, I think eventually the goal is to put the sponsors back here, like I was telling you. But are they gonna tell me, hey, you can and can't say this? Mm-hmm. I don't want to be controlled either. I want to be able to just be myself. And the fighters generally know, like, I'm only here to help them promote themselves. You know? And like I tell a lot of the fighters that come on, I can't say, hey, I'm team fight culture, because team fight culture may fight team this one day. Mm-hmm. And guess what? If I had both you guys on, I can't say I favor one over the other. So I'll just tell both you guys to be blessed. I mean, I'm always going to be a fan of you. Like I tell them, I'm always going to be a fan of you. I'm always going to root for you, but you'll never see me come out and publicly say, hey, I'm going to go for this guy or this guy. Because like the other day, I think one of the, and I won't say who, one of the fighters was like, hey, bro, you should wear my shirt. It's like, I can't, you know, unfortunately. And then I was like, just because we may eventually podcast with your opponent, and I don't want them to think like, oh, Inside the Pod with Lou is favoring. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're always going to favor all of them. You know, I truly want everyone to win. Unfortunately, in a fight, one's going to win, right? But no, I think that's been, and I really appreciate the pointers and on and off the camera. We'll continue to learn, and maybe one of these days, like I said, when you're hosting, you're commenting, maybe we can go out there and check it out and really get to see it, and then just kind of like interact. I mean, 13 hours is a long time, so try to get us one. There's like a, you know, but no. Is there anything else you kind of want to touch on before we head off?
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, but I also do yearly awards.
I did not.
So this will be my 4th annual Fight Culture Awards. From the first one to last year, it's been a live stream, and then I mail out awards. And it's for anybody in the Central and Northern California region. I like to doing a little award show at the end of the year. Male Fighter of the Year, Muay Thai Fighter of the Year, Amateur Fighter of the Year. You know, so many of those awards going out. But this year I'm doing my first one in person. It'll be in January. And yeah, so hopefully everybody can make it out to that one. So far I have a lot of people signed up, ready to go. But yeah, that's going to be an amazing award show. I have a whole board this year. I usually do open nominations, and then we'll do by the popular vote. But this year I have a whole board. We're going to do popular vote and then what the person actually did, you know, so it's going to be legitimate awards this year. And yeah, I'm excited for that. That's going to be an amazing.
And where's that going to be hosted at?
That one's going to be hosted at the Gaslight Theater in Denair, California. It's a really small town next to Turlock, but it is the most central place from Fresno and Sacramento, which is where most of my people are from. So I just want to make sure I could get a central location. But yeah, that's going to be an exciting award show, live in person. I've never done it before, but I'm excited to do it finally. It's been live streamed, but this is gonna
there, I mean, can you drop what you can drop do you have an idea? Like you said, you reached out to some people. Do you know who's going to like attend?
Yeah. So last year, because I also do awards for like podcast of the year, interview of the year, commentator of the year. And that's because I'm so in tune.
That's so cool though.
I'm so in tune with the regional scene, so in tune, but I'm so in tune because I'm doing the highest goal I've set myself to do. This is what I wanted to do. Like I said, I don't want to get to the UFC. This is where I want it to be. And so, you know, I'm so in tune, passionately, I'm so in tune with everything going on in the regional scene. And so, you know, when it comes to media, I got to give them their flowers too. So I always have those awards. But last year, for Cut Woman of the Year, we had Cut Woman, you met her.
Carol,
the Cut. How did I forget Cut Woman Carol? That's my girl.
We're still waiting for her to come on.
Yeah, I love her, man. She's awesome. She's awesome. I work with her at a lot of boxing events. But she won Cut Woman of the Year.
Nice.
The guy I got to present the award via video was Cutman Tate from the UFC.
Okay.
The one that gets along with all the fighters and whatnot. So I had him do a video. So I had him on. I had Brandon Fitzgerald, who commentates the UFC. He awarded Michael Hernandez with Commentator of the Year via video. So, you know, Dean Thomas awarded Interview of the Year. So, or excuse me, Male Fighter of the Year. Nice. So I had a lot of these big names come on. But in person, let's just say it's in that realm of somebody showing up.
Wow. I like
Small town Denair. I don't know how I got them out there, but I did.
No, that's all. That once again, Marissa, aka Fight Culture. That is like just awesome. Like I can't, there's no other word to say other than awesome, because at the end of the day, like I feel like we have the same goal. I'm trying to do the same thing for the Valley, in God's time. But if you do need help as far as coverage, let us know.
Absolutely.
We'll make sure we make it out. And just who knows what will be in January. Like the Lord is, I really look back and I tell myself, like, I have to pinch myself sometimes to be like, this has only been 4 months. And then the people we've made connections with, contacts with, networked with, I could just imagine where we'll be at next September, and I feel like as we continue to grow, I really believe, and I'm going to manifest that I think we can get some big names on.
Yeah.
And it's not really necessarily about the big names. It's about showing that all the smaller podcasts, the smaller influencers, and just in general, the amateur boxers, that one day you can be that big name. And who knows, like when I do these interviews with all these small town West Side schools, I tell them like, there's a Josh Allen here.
Yeah.
There's a Danny Trejo here. There is a Robert Barrios here. Yeah. There's a Matthew Vargas here. There's a Gabriel Sanchez here. So just, there is a Michael Gomez here. Like all these kids on 559 that are coming up. Shout out to them. I know by the time we drop your podcast, they already have passed, but
yeah,
you don't know. And like when I first interacted at Madero Martial Arts, so shout out to Coach Chris. When I met all these guys, they're the ones that I landed Robert and Matthew because of them. If it wasn't for them being so generous and nice, I just know that as I'm learning and when you're in a fight camp, we're a podcast. Like I said, I hope one day we can be mobile. So I want to clarify something, because when people might be like, we were only mobile yesterday because we met Madera Media, Farball Media on Wednesday, and then they did the podcast for us yesterday, at the carnival. But we're trying to adjust and learn. Me and my wife are just kind of figuring it out. But I think the cool story down one day is when I do come on, I want to eventually do a podcast tour when I go on podcasts, and people know, like, I have, like, kind of like your story. I never really was in it, and now that I'm in it, okay, this is how I've got in it. And as I got in it, it's about me taking the time to interview the people, do the necessary steps, because it's not something that's going to come like that. It's going to take time, right? The craft.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you wouldn't have told me that, I would have never known. And this is your fourth year doing it?
This will be my 4th year doing it, yes.
So that's amazing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. No. I mean, it's all a passion project. I mean, again, a lot of this comes out of my own pocket. A lot of what I do at work in turns comes back into these projects. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I love it. Right now I'm young. I'm married, but I have no kids, so I can do it. Can I do it in the future? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But with sponsors.
Hopefully by then I think we can get some sponsors. You know, and like I said, it all takes, like, I believe we're 1 or 2 sponsors away from being a sponsored podcast and being able to really do this fully. And as like you say, I need to learn how to start doing the video, because I'm more like old school. When I'd rather come and meet you in person. Right. And I noticed right now a lot of people, if they can't come to us, because I mean, we're still growing. Yeah. I mean, maybe when we get bigger, it'd be like, okay, I will go to you, right? But us going to them, at least showing them in the beginning, like, hey, we're willing to meet you halfway, like, but right now I don't like our mobile setup. Yeah. Because I know that at home, I know the audio is going to work. I know the video is going to work. Yes. Like yesterday, I had told the Farball Media team, I was like, look, check it out. I'm not going to, all these podcasts, all these guys that are going to come interview with us, I'm going to bring them on my podcast soon. So what I'll do is I'll allow the teacher and the students to kind of get a little feel of how I interview. Because they're right now at school, they're learning how to interview. Oh. I was like, so what I'll do is, look, I'm going to ask certain questions, and I'm going to come unprepared on purpose. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking notes of how I'm going to ask when they come on my podcast. Like Coach Mag, being 41 years, being a Hall of Famer for California, being a Hall of Famer here in Farball, who he's coached. He coached Josh Allen, the quarterback, so he has stories. Not only that, he's coached all these great wrestlers who are not only necessarily famous athletes, but there's guys that are captains for the sheriff department, or soon to be captains, they're lieutenants, they're officers, they're teachers, they're lawyers, they're all over, scattered throughout the valley. He has other coaches that are coaching good D1 programs, they're in junior college programs. So his story alone is just, he's a part one of many 41 years, and I think down the road when, as you've been doing this for a few years now, when I come back on later, I want to be able, like, no, hey, I started like this. This is how and when I interview, I come from a different background of having to interview people. Yeah. So I think when the fight game comes, I think with me, I just need to be able to, like, go out and just see the technical part of it. And then from there, shoot, maybe one day I'll manifest it. We'll be on a card together. Maybe we'll be commentating together, right?
Yeah.
And then it'll be kind of cool. And then one day I'll just be like, and I think what I want to tell these West Side kids is like, just like you, bro. I grew up in a small town just like you. I played sports just like you. I had a guy come in and talk, and I was like, whatever. But it was different because he wasn't from my area. Like, I grew up like you.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, like we're more cut than you imagine,
Right.
and we're doing it the same way, you know. But no, it's been awesome to really see and meet people like yourself that have the same goals, you know. And I just want to thank you once again. So I will end it that way. You're good with it?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple of things I'd like to
Go
say.
ahead.
For anybody out there, anybody who wants to do this, anybody who wants to fight, and including you, remain authentic, because nobody can be you. And I think authenticity is truly what's missing in the world, but specifically in the fight game, but in the world as well. Understand that some people are not going to like you, and you just got to accept that. It's just a natural thing, especially in such a politically run game like the fight game. And other than that, just keep going.
Yeah.
It's endless.
You heard it here. I mean, I'm learning, just like you said, and I think what helps me out a little bit is that I'm a little older, so I can kind of get a feel of it. But politics is everywhere. Yeah. So as I'm learning the fight politics and behind the scenes as far as the interview part and interacting with other people, like you said, unfortunately, as much as I want people to say, "Hey, I like this guy," or I try to be genuine as possible, it's not reciprocated, and that's okay. I feel like what I've been learning from the Lord's been teaching me is just, really pray for your enemies, really pray for people that a lot of people the one thing I will say is we truly don't know what someone's going through behind closed doors. A lot of people are battling certain demons and they're battling their own problems. And I think it's for us is to just try to uplift. And sometimes when you're around a positive person like that and you have such negative mindset and thoughts, it's like, it makes you almost hate the person more. Right? Yeah. And I've just learned to be like, you know what? I'll just pray for you. That's all I can do, in the most positive way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, great message. Honestly, did not expect the podcast to go as smooth and really is just great as it did. The information that you brought to it, and I look forward to part 2.
Yeah,
whenever
absolutely.
it does come, and from
Thank
there
you so much.
we'll go from there. Yeah. So like we start every podcast with the Bible verse, we end with the same Bible verse. And today's Bible verse that is to the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 3. Those who are wise will shine as bright as the sky, and those who lead many righteousness will shine like the stars forever. Daniel 12:3. And with that being said, I want to thank Marissa, aka Fight Culture, for coming on, and be on the lookout for her for not only her events coming up in October, but she just dropped some Inside the PodwLou exclusive in January. She's going to be doing her 4th annual award ceremony for the fight and just in general people of the Valley. And hopefully we'll be out there to see it, and maybe we can cover it and go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Awesome.